Hello, Representative.
Hi, Amy.
Or Representative, that narrows it down. Hello, Representative Rob.
I had my son's name on it. I don't know why.
Technology, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait a few minutes to see if Senator Davis is able to hop on.
Representative Cloutier, I think, is coming.
And Representative Cloutier, right?
I don't see Representative Fecto from the Republican side either.
Yes,
I
he's here.
see.
I'm right here.
He's right here, all
Recognize
masked
the
up.
masked man.
He's in disguise.
I'm hiding.
Senator Breen,
Yes,
I made you a co-host.
thank you.
Is there someone else, Representative Purse? That's
I
going
would
to
think
be,
so, Mandy, because I actually am going to say hello and then sign off. So yes, I think you should make Representative Peirce a co-host.
okay.
Whoa, promotion.
Yay, hey. What kind of big power is that, I wonder?
I think the power to mute people, so that's awesome.
Even better, I love it.
Doesn't the host have to
You'll
give
just see me
prizes?
talking. There'll be nothing there.
Hi, Kristen. Representative Cloutier, excuse me.
Hi.
Oh, there's
I'm just going to text Senator Davis and see if he is,
He was on
he was, huh?
by phone, yeah.
Oh, meeting audio. Let me see. Let me text him.
Representative Martin, are you up north?
Here where it's about 16 degrees.
Ooh, cold.
I'm wondering if if Senator Davis, if you are on only by audio, could you just speak up and let us know?
I believe we should have seen it on the participation list.
Oh, here he goes. He's in the waiting room.
Yep, you can admit, or I can.
All right. Senator Davis, are you there by audio?
There you go. You can talk now. I'm here.
Wonderful.
Oh, I don't know. Here,
It's good to hear your voice.
well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And now it looks like Representative Corey has signed off temporarily.
In the chat, it says he has some issues with his headphones, so.
Right.
You need something?
How do I mute it so they don't hear? How do I do that?
So let's just give Representative Corey a couple minutes to get back.
So I will apologize ahead of time. I'm going to have to jump off at 2:20 to get a COVID test, which I get every week. It's not because it's not because I'm worried.
Good.
Here he comes again. All right, I think Representative Corey is back, at least by audio, if not by video. Is that correct, Representative Corey?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I think we'll start by briefly introducing ourselves, and then I'm going to make a couple of opening comments, and then we will turn you over to
I'm trying to
Maureen
figure it out.
Dawson.
I have 2 sets. Right now, I think I'm good.
Representative Cardone, would you like to start us off?
I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, which is the west side and downtown Bangor. And I'm very happy to be joining you this session.
Thank you. Representative Millett.
I'm Sowen Millet from House District 71, Norway, Sweden, Waterford, and West Paris. 8th term in the House, 6th term on appropriations. Looking forward to get to know all of you.
Thank you. Representative Fecto.
Yes, I'm Representative Justin Fecto, and I represent part of Augusta.
Thank you. Representative Hymanson.
Hi, I'm Patty Hymanson. I'm District 4, representing parts of York, Wells, Sanford, and all of Ogunquit. I've been on Health and Human Services now for 3 sessions, 2 sessions as chair, and I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Representative Arata.
Hi, I'm Amy Arata, and I represent District 65, which includes New Gloucester and just part of Poland.
Thank you. Representative Fay.
I'm Representative Jessica Fay. I represent the other part of Poland and parts of Raymond and Casco, House District 66. And I'm happy to be coming to you from 2 terms on the Environment and Natural Resources Committee and 1 term on the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee.
Thank you. Representative Corey.
Yeah, I'm in my 4th term in the House of Representatives.
We can't hear you, Representative.
It's broken.
We can hear you a little bit. It's just low.
Okay, so my name is Patrick Corey. I represent House District 25 in Wyndham. I've been in the legislature for 3 terms now, and I sat on the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee prior to this.
Great, thank you. Representative Cloutier.
Hi, I am Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of Lewiston. I served my 1st term on taxation with Representative Arata, and I am super happy to be here with you all for my 2nd term.
Thank you. Senator Bailey.
Thank you. I am Donna Bailey. I represent Senate District 31, which is 5 communities in York County: Saco, Old Orchard Beach, Hollis, Leamington, and part of Buxton. I am a new senator. I served 2 terms in the House, both of them on the Judiciary Committee, 1 of those terms as the House Chair.
Thank you. Senator Davis.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Davis, and I represent Senate District 8, which is all of Piscataquis County, parts of Somerset, and parts of Penobscot. I have the distinction of having more seniority than any other Republican, including Sowen Millet. And it remains to be seen if I'm going to be happy about this or not. Thank you.
Representative Martin.
Hey, I'm all the way in northern Maine, from Allagash down to the Penobscot border, and I've been around appropriations for a while, and I live in Eagle Lake.
Thank you. Representative Peirce.
Thank you. I'm Representative Teresa Peirce. I represent District 44, which is the majority of Falmouth, and I'm delighted to be the House Chair this year, serving my 2nd term on AFA. I was on education before that, and I was the House Chair of the Marijuana Implementation Committee prior to that as well. Looking forward to them being up and running and bringing in some revenues for us this year. So excited that everyone's here, looking forward to the day and the weeks ahead.
Thank you. And my name is Kathy Breen. I represent 6.5 communities, including Falmouth, in Cumberland County. And I served my 1st term on ENR my second term as the Senate lead when Democrats in the Senate were in the minority on approps. I served last session as Senate chair and this session as Senate chair. And I'm really pleased to be co-chairing with my longtime colleague and friend, Representative Peirce. And I'm really, really thrilled with all of the members. Every one of you brings something really important and valuable to the committee, whether you're new or veteran. And we're gonna need all hands on deck for sure. So just a little bit of housekeeping before I sign off. We have our analysts with us today, Maureen Dawson, and we have two clerk positions for today. We have Mandy, would you mind waving? Mandy Shorey from OFPR, and Marianne McMaster from OFPR. And you folks will quickly come to understand that the OFPR office is really an extraordinarily talented, deeply experienced and committed group of people. And we're really, really fortunate to have them staffing our committee. We are also, once again, sort of a guinea pig to try to work out the kinks in our new way of meeting. We did several successful hybrid briefing type meetings while we were adjourned over the summer and fall. But now that this situation has changed again, and we have a new joint order, we're trying to work out those kinks as well. And I'll say the same thing to the public, that our goal is to be extraordinarily transparent and accessible to make sure that every member of the public and every constituency is fairly and easily accessed, and that you have access to our committee in even better ways than you did when we were meeting in the building, and that we are going to make some mistakes. And today might be one of those days, we'll see. But everybody here is new at this. The OFPR staff was not handling the technical stuff over the summer. So they have had some training, and today is going to be a first go live of handling the technology. I have a lot of faith in them, but I also know that this is all new. So we are, again, trying to figure things out. If we make a mistake, let us know, and we will fix it for sure. Maureen Dawson is going to have some really good orientation materials for you today, but she's not going to have everything because there's still some things we don't know yet that OPLA is still working out, some of the mechanics. So Maureen will have everything that's available to her right now available to all of you. And she's an extraordinary resource, and so are your chairs. And so anytime you are confused or feeling like you need more information, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to let Maureen, I think, or Representative Peirce introduce the folks from OFPR who are joining us today, because I am going to sign off. There's Teresa, can you see Luke is here, Suzanne Voynick, Chris Nolan. Do you have those folks on your screen?
I do. I don't know who meeting audio video is, but I'll figure that out. So thank you, Senator Breen.
So I'm going to sign off, and your brain should hurt a little bit by the end of today, given the new amount of information, but don't worry if not everything has been completely revealed today. There is more training coming, and we also will have a meeting on Thursday, a regular meeting where you'll get briefed from the DAFS commissioner and a few other parties, and we'll have plenty of time to meet after that and debrief some of that as well as a committee or as in our caucuses. So thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to Representative Peirce.
Thanks, Senator. Have a good meeting wherever you're headed.
Thank you.
Representative Peirce?
Yes.
Yes, it's Mandy. I have my
Hi,
mask
Mandy.
on. You probably can't see my mouth moving. I think that we were under the impression that maybe we were going to be a little bit later being introduced.
Okay, so
So
let's
we
wait.
may not have everybody on right now.
Why don't we wait then until people all are on board for that, and then we can introduce everybody at one time. And I just
Okay.
also want to share that this is a public meeting. We are live. I've actually received a couple texts like, hey, it's great to see you online and videoed. So remember, just remembering that when we are live actually, and we're not all used to not just being on video and not being in the room, so to speak. So I'll turn it over to Maureen, and then Maureen, when you think it's appropriate to introduce everyone, I might just have you in the office do that, so to make sure I don't miss anyone. So thanks.
Wonderful. So thank you for the reminder that we're live, because now I'm really nervous, but that's good. It's good. And I was planning to tell you all a secret. I think I still will, because I hope the audience is limited. So I'm going to tell you a secret. When I started this job, about dozen years ago, I knew about two things about Appropriations Committee and what it does, diddly and squat. But after a lot of trials and tribulations and errors on my part, I'm down to just knowing diddly. So I'm halfway there. But some of you are new to the committee, but none of you are new to the legislature. So I know that you know a lot more than I did starting out. Nevertheless, it's a complicated committee, and its processes may not be what you're used to. In a former life, I worked in the defense, and the company I worked for did missile guidance. And I can safely say that budget work is not rocket science. It's harder. It's harder. So there is really, no briefing in the world that I could give you that would give you everything you need or want to know. It just isn't. And even if there was, it would be hard for you to retrieve any particular piece of information from some briefing you got when you were sitting there brand new going, eh. But that really doesn't matter, because we're here to answer your questions as they come up, throughout the session, day or night. Okay, day. We will be happy to help you any way we can. So meanwhile, here's a first kind of basic briefing, and there'll be likely to be a couple more, as your Senate Chair mentioned. But even without these overviews and briefing, I'm convinced that by the end of this session, diddly and squat will be nothing more to you than, I don't know, maybe a great name for a rockabilly band. So let's get started. And I'm going to share my screen, and bear with me while I practiced this on Mandy and Marianne, and it sort of worked. So, oh, cool. So welcome to Appropriations and Financial Affairs, and here's your first briefing, and basically it's to tell you what do you do and what are you in for. Well, like most committees, you're going to get bills. Most of you are pretty familiar with those, but not those kind of bills, but the normal bills. So bills typically referred to AFA are, obviously biennial and supplemental budget bills, general obligation bond bills, some fiscal policy bills, and occasional funding bills and miscellaneous bills. It's kind of like a job description where they say other duties as assigned. Well, that's pretty much what AFA can get, especially at the end of the session when you're the only committee meeting and they need something real fast. But you are more than just a committee of bills. You are a committee with a mission. And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to balance the general fund appropriations to general fund revenue. I don't think that's a picture of either of your chairs, but might be a picture of me, not sure. Anyway. So why is it necessary to balance appropriations, revenues, and expenses? Well, it's because the state constitution pretty much prohibits borrowing for ongoing expenses. I think it may allow a couple million. So I have to, I obviously am nervous, and I am doing weird things here. So either the budget is balanced mindfully, or the state just has to stop serving its citizen or paying its bills when the money runs out. That's it, because the state can't keep spending when there's no money. And that would make a lot of people pretty upset. So here you are. Let's talk about this, balancing general fund appropriations. Balancing. So balancing, there's a whole system in place that's evolved over the years to help things be balanced. And it really starts with the revenue forecast, which you're going to hear about on Thursday from DAF's briefings. But the revenue forecast tells you, how much you have to spend. And then you do biennial budget appropriations, which really covers just about everything. And there's supplemental budgets that have to, tweak the biennial budget because things change. There's a whole fiscal note process, which I'm sure you're all quite familiar with, that informs you about what things cost and the fiscal impact. Special appropriations table, cascade for when budgeted surpluses or exceed what you thought you were budgeting, and curtailments, which you might be familiar with now, for when resources fall short of appropriations. So let's talk general fund. Well, the general fund is the primary operating fund of the state government, and it receives revenue from general sources. That's kind of obvious. And things like income tax, sales tax, that kind of stuff. And spending on general fund, as we've discussed, can't exceed available resources in a given year. Appropriations are the tool by which the legislature divvies up general fund resources among all the general fund supported programs within state government in accordance with legislators' priorities. Now, the governor, when she proposes or he proposes, sets his or her priorities. And as Representative Millett is fond of saying, the governor proposes and the legislature disposes. So by the time you're finished with that budget, it will be reflecting your priorities. Now, the legislature cannot appropriate general fund resources unless the revenue has been forecasted by the Revenue Forecasting Committee. Can't just willy-nilly decide, well, we're going to get more money, so we're going to spend it. Or additional revenue is generated by a change in the law since the last forecast, or funds are transferred into the general fund from another source through law. Now, the legislature is not required to appropriate all general fund resources, and it's common, very common. I don't remember a time when it hasn't happened, even in the worst of times, that the legislature, or the Appropriations Committee, has budgeted a surplus. And that would serve as a cushion against revenue shortfalls, a cushion against future downward revenue forecasts, or as a resource for unexpected spending needs in this current or the next legislature. Anything can happen. I mean, for all we know, there could be a pandemic or something, you'll need more money. So that's one of the reasons that you generally leave a little bit of money left. And in Thursday's briefing, Director Chris Nolan will be talking about where you stand on that as of now. So let's just talk a little bit about non-general funds, because you'll see them in the biennial budget. I just wanted to just quickly go through what they would be. Now, the highway fund, you won't see that. That's under the responsibility of the Transportation Committee, because it's revenue received from fuel and registration and other taxes and licenses regarding the use of vehicles on public highways. So that revenue must be used for highway related activities. That's why it's under transportation. But you may see informational issues about highway fund impacts of initiatives that also affect general fund. So you'll see it, but you won't really be acting on it. Doing it again. Federal funds, which include expenditure funds and block grant funds. And, I tried to put what they are, and all I could think of, well, they're from the federal government. And they are, the federal government generally has a pretty significant say in how those funds are spent. And as a matter of fact, the annual audit from the state auditor focuses on the federal funds to make sure that they're being spent in accordance with the rules and regulations that the federal government has tied to the funds. Other special revenue funds, a personal favorite of mine, and they are generally established by the legislature. So an OSR fund gets its resources from segregated or dedicated sources, such as license fees, special taxes, investments on their earnings or sale of goods. So these resources are expended for very specific purposes, and those purposes are usually in the statute or the law that was that set up the fund. Fund for a Healthy Maine, and those of you who are on the HHS committee are keenly aware of this fund, and it was established for the receipt and expenditure of funds received from the tobacco settlement. Internal Services Funds, one of two proprietary funds, meaning they get their money from things, services, and goods that they sell. Internal Services Funds gets its resources from charges to other state agencies. So these are things like the Executive Branch's Office of Information Services Fund, which charges the other agencies for its services, risk management, central motor pool, stuff like that. Enterprise funds, they get its resources from charges to external users beyond state government. And the big ones are State Alcoholic Beverage Fund, Island Ferry Service Fund, Communication Fund. Fiduciary funds, they include expendable and non-expendable trust funds, and they're used for assets held by the state, acting as a trustee. And the biggest example of that would be the Employment Trust Security Fund, huge fund that the state is the trustee of. So one really important fact about non-general funds, they are allocated. So an allocation is permission to spend the funds collected or available. So if the funds aren't collected, then no expenditure can be made. So balancing the expenditures to resources in these types of funds, it's generally self-policing. And since they're usually within those discrete programs or at least departments. It's not like the general fund that's all over the place so that if you run out, you can't figure out what not to spend. So that's the difference. So just, this is in your legislature handbook that you got on swearing in day, but I thought I'd throw this up for you so you can kind of see the magnitude of the funds. You've got general fund and federal fund being slightly bigger. And we also segregated coronavirus relief funds because it's not only of interest and temporary, but it's sort of a federal fund, but we did segregate it. And you're going to hear about that fund some more from the DAPS commissioner in your briefing on Thursday. So you've got highway fund, other special revenue fund, and stuff. I think there's, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about budget bills, since that's going to be your life pretty soon and for a long time to come. And I'm just going to give you 8 fun facts. I wanted to do 10 because it's even, but I can only find 8 fun facts. But anyway, we'll start with that and you can get more down the road. Number 1, budget bills are just like any other bill you're used to in your former legislative life, only a lot bigger, especially the biennial. Number 2, and this year, the biennial budget and the supplemental are due from the governor Friday, January 8th. Sometimes you'll get emergency supplemental budgets earlier than the deadline. I don't know what the timeline is, and I think Commissioner Figueroa again will maybe be able to enlighten us about that when she speaks to you on Thursday. Number 3, emergency supplemental budgets are generally heard and deliberated on prior to the biennial budget hearings, but there is occasionally overlap, especially if the supplemental budget is large or complicated. Number 4, policy committees deliberate separately, as you all know, having been on policy committees, and they report their recommendations to AFA in writing and sometimes in person, although I guess this year it would be 2-dimensional person. We'll see how that all works. So unanimous policy committee recommendations are, always welcome, but not always possible. Number 5. So the deliberations on the budgets take place in caucuses, your individual committee caucuses, and in the committee as a whole. And OFPR staff members are available in either venue to provide whatever you may need. And executive branch members are generally invited in committee only because it's more efficient and transparent. But occasionally they go into their individual caucuses, especially if you're stuck on something that you're trying to work through your positions on things, and you just need them to come in and talk to you about something quickly so you can move on. Number 6. AFA voting on individual initiatives start once the policy committee report backs start coming in. And obviously you're not going to vote on something before you hear the recommendations, because it's kind of rude. And the goal usually from your voting on those initial votings is to find your low-hanging fruit and identify some areas of disagreement. It is also really helpful to the revisor's office and OFPR that you vote, kind of keep voting as you go along, finding that low-hanging fruit, because then we can work on language parts and the initiatives that we think are going into your report. And it makes it a lot easier and gets your report out more efficiently and quicker. So that's really appreciated. The way AFA votes helps you and it helps us. Number 7, AFA members receive a lot of material, and those of you who've been on AFA can attest to this. You get the gigantic budget proposal, big, testimony, committee report backs, follow-up information from agencies, and of course the ever popular change package, which I will not discuss right now. I don't want to. Number 8. There's no perfect system for keeping track of this ton of information you're going to get. There may not even be a good system. And this year, for the first time, as your Senate Chair mentioned, hearings and work sessions are likely to be paperless. Now, Mary Ann, who's a very experienced clerk, is excellent at organizing your paper. She's always been there to help. And I've developed systems on trial and error basis. I've always happy to help, and your veteran committee members. But now it's going to be different. It's mostly electronic, and we're going to have to figure it out together to make it work. And we will. And as Lynn said, we're going to screw this up and make mistakes, overwhelm you, but I promise we will get through it. And we will figure out how this is all going to be done. Number 9. There is no number 9 because I could only find 8 fun facts. But let's just take a quick peek at the calendar, that the 129th, just so you can kind of see the magnitude of what was going on in budget deliberations. Don't be scared, it's going to be quick. So the budget on the 129th was due out on February 8th. Now remember, the governor was a newly elected governor, got 1 extra month to do this. So everything here is kind of off by a month. So you got the budget was due, and then we had to make copies, big budget, get everything together. We got the supplemental, and we had organized supplemental hearings, and then you had those. And your chairs being wanting to be efficient, scheduled some bond hearings in because you happen to get those, and they didn't want to have a day wasted. So there was some of that, but you basically worked the supplemental budget in the end of February. And all this time, OFPR is trying to work on getting the joint hearing schedule together. It's a very complicated schedule. First, you have to figure out where all those language parts, which committees it belongs to, divide up all the programs by committee, figure out when the other committees can meet and do it. So it's a big process. So generally speaking, your committee hearings, your joint committee hearings on the budget won't start till probably a month after they come out. So here's March, when you did your hearings. You see hearings. Fridays, you generally got off because of 2 reasons. It's not an authorized meeting day, although there's obviously exceptions. And generally, and I think in the 130th as well, members of AFA are also on the government oversight committee. So we needed to free up your Fridays so you could meet with them. So March was a big month. And the fun part about having all those hearings in March is the possibility of snow days and rescheduling. But I'm sure that won't happen this year. So March, you heard it. April is starting your deliberations. You were getting report backs. You were doing that initial voting. And once again, we were waiting for report backs, and your chair said, oh, good, a day, let's do another hearing. So it's good. In the end, you're going to be glad you heard these things, but it's often kind of a strange thing to suddenly pull back from the budget and hear a bond. So here you are, work session caucuses, holiday, thank God, work session caucuses. A random day that you didn't have anything scheduled for no reason I could figure out. I'm sure there was something going on. Then May, hey, you're still working it. Work session caucuses all through May, another day off, God knows, I don't know. Holiday, Memorial Day comes and goes, more caucuses, more work sessions. Finally, in June, you were beginning to wrap it up. So you had work sessions, note the Saturday, Sunday, sorry, it generally happens just about every budget cycle. Work sessions, and you were getting ready to do a final vote. You had some days where you left OFPR and the revisor's office to work on getting some of these amendments that you were voting in drafted, getting ready for your report out. And you finally reported out on the 12th of June. And I believe that the budget was enacted on the 17th that year. And the only reason we were able to get it reported out and enacted so quickly after your vote is because of all of the voting that you did prior. That is how the budget works. And I would imagine it would be very, very similar, maybe a month off, or maybe even adding another month of caucusing and voting, who knows? So that was just a little bit on the budget. And there's a lot more in our publication, the budget process, which will be one of the things we're waiting on the printer. It will be out and hopefully soon, and we'll be able to get it to you in your packet before the new year, because you're going to want to read that one on New Year's Eve for sure. So while you work on the budget, the legislature is likely working on other bills. Yeah, they're doing stuff while you're busy in here caucusing and voting, Hence the various special appropriations table, because many of those bills that are coming out just before, and not engrossed, but maybe not enacted, would affect the budget balance and what you're doing. So you don't want to be able to, you don't want to have your work undone by something that's being done on the floor. So the special appropriations table, that's designed to defer actions on certain bills until budget bills have been enacted. And it allows the legislature, through you guys, to maintain a balanced budget and ensure that bills with general fund impact compete equally for finite resources. It wouldn't be fair just to fund bills as a first come, first served basis. It'd be interesting. It'd probably make the legislative process a lot quicker, but it wouldn't be fair. So just quickly, bills that are likely to go to the table, general fund appropriations, de-appropriations, current or future potential costs, or bills that reduce revenue or increase moral obligation debt, bills with potential state mandates that don't have a preamble, or all bills that are related to the Fund for a Healthy Me. Bills likely not to go to the table include those that generate revenue. You say, yeah, let that sucker rip. Bills that have minor general fund costs, which can be absorbed with existing resources. Bills that impact funds other than general fund. Other special revenue and those types of funds are generally under the purview of the policy committee. So as you all are completely aware, fiscal notes determine which bills are candidates for the special appropriations table and which go directly to enactment. So there's even more on the fiscal note process and the appropriations table in our publication, Fiscal Note Process and Overview, and that will be part of your packet, hopefully before the end of the year. So let's move away from the balancing stuff and talk a little bit about you also being the bond committee. So general obligation bonds, or GO bonds, they're backed by the full faith and credit of the state. They must be approved by 2/3 of the members of present and voting in each body, and they must be approved by the voters. So they're a pretty big deal. They're an important part of your committee mission, and they're worthy of a separate briefing when the time comes, but it has not come. And generally, when you're ready to work bonds is when you really want to hear more information about current bonding, debt service, etc. So we usually wait so that, you know, when your brain's not quite as full to talk about that at the time. So there'll be some other orientations, as your chair mentioned. There'll probably be a walkthrough of the documents and overviews of OPLA's one-pagers and what's on the web for you, your resources there. A briefing on legislative oversight of expenditures, where we're going to get into financial orders and some other responsibilities of AFA. And a briefing when navigating the budget document once it comes out, you know, talk about how it's organized, how you find things, stuff like that. So just a summary of what you can expect in your packets. You're going to get the handouts that OPLA puts together, budget process, fiscal note process, municipal funding report, the compendium of state fiscal information, which is actually it's not something you're going to sit back and read like some of the others, but it is a wealth of information. About, I would say 50% of the questions that we get can be answered with the compendium. So it's a really good resource. And anything else we may think of throwing in, I don't know, Christmas cards or grocery lists or whatever. So be expecting that. So one last thought, the sooner we fall behind in our work, the more time we have to catch up. But don't tell your chairs that, they hate falling behind. So up next is Director Nolan, who's going to speak about the office and introduce the staff. So I am now open for, you know, questions, comments, thumbs downs, whatever you've got.
Maureen, maybe, yeah, thank you. Stop sharing your screen. Thank you so much. I just want to jump in and say that was a great overview. I think if people want to have the PowerPoint just to review it, I'm sure that she can supply that as well. There's a lot of information in there. And I personally appreciate the second round of that, because it's always good to hear that again and again in any world. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Nolan, our OFPR director.
Good afternoon, everybody. I didn't know whether, Maureen, did you have a question and answer session already, or is that?
That would be completely up to the chair. If there's any questions, I can answer questions one-on-one, call me, email me, or we can do it right here.
I kind of jumped quickly to Chris, but are there questions from the PowerPoint or anything else that you'd like to address to Maureen at this time? And you could either raise your hand in the participants pool or just put your hand up. I see Patrick Corey.
We can get a copy of the PowerPoint, right?
Absolutely. I'll email that to you, and I'll also email you some links to the documents you're going to get, just in case you're anxious to look at them online ahead of getting the hard copies.
I'll be home for Christmas, so thank you.
Anyone else with a question or thought? I don't see anybody's hands going up right now, so.
Okay, so I'm all set. I'm sorry, I jumped on. I wasn't sure whether you had done questions and answers yet, so that's why I asked that question. My name is Chris Nolan. I'm the director of the Office of Fiscal and Program Review. You've met Mandy, you've met Marianne, and you've met Maureen. We have more M's to follow. But we have a total of 11 people, so you've met 8, and myself, you haven't met 8, but myself is 4. And while we spend a great deal of our time staffing the Appropriations Committee and are located Our staff offices are right next door to you, and right next door to 228 in room 226. We do have other functions other than staff and the Appropriations Committee. We staff the Taxation Committee. We also provide budget staffing to Transportation and Health and Human Services Committee. And we divide up our staff to provide fiscal support to all the rest of the committees. That support primarily includes, this is just a real quick summary, primarily includes support with doing budget issues and working through the supplemental budget and also the biennial budget, but also doing fiscal notes for bills before those committees. So while we, as I said, do spend, I would say most of our time supporting you all in the Appropriations Committee, our folks are also, while you're working primarily with Maureen and Marianne, our folks are available to you, but they're also doing their job supporting the various other committees as well. So, and we, as Maureen pointed out, we have a one-pager that lays out what OFPR does, and certainly anytime you want to drop in electronically to talk about what we do or what we can do for you, just please go ahead and do that. What we wanted to do for the rest of today was just to have you meet the other staff of OFPR. So unless you have any questions up front, I will just, let me start with Mark on my screen. Mark Sear.
Hi, I'm Mark Sear. I'm Principal Analyst in the Office of Fiscal and Program Review. And just a little bit about my personal history. I've got 42 years of state service, 20 are in, more than 20 are in the Office of Fiscal and Program Review. I spent 17 years in the Treasurer's Office. I was Deputy Treasurer, responsible for issuing bonds and investing all the state's money. So that experience has been helpful on this side of the tunnel. And I spent 5 years in the state audit department where I got a chance to audit all the state agencies, and that gave me access to all of the managements of those folks and all the policies and all the procedures, and got an in-depth look. So it gave me a really good background in how all the agencies, what they do and how they interact. So my prime responsibility is the fiscal note process. And Maureen's already talked about fiscal notes and some other things, so I'm not going to get into the details of all that right now because we're just doing a quick thing here. But basically, I sign all of the bills to the analysts, and I edit and approve the fiscal notes that they do after they've done their research. And I'm very lucky that the job is made a lot easier because our analysts do a really great job, and they've been around a long time, most of them. So they make my job a lot easier. I also play a major role in the special appropriations table process, which really, I look at that really as kind of an offshoot of the fiscal note process. The fiscal note process identifies all the bills that need to go to the table, and I monitor and track them when they get to the point where they've been approved in both bodies and they've been enacted in the House, and just before enactment in the Senate. That's when I step in and I provide, the night before every Senate session, I look at the advanced calendar and I mark up a calendar for the Senate Chair of Appropriations and make sure that she knows what bills need to be sent to the special appropriations table based on the fiscal analysis we did in the fiscal note process. So, and I won't talk too much about that, but anytime you want to talk more about that process, I'd be happy to meet with you, or at least talk to you. The other major function is Revenue Forecasting Committee. I'm a member on that committee. As far as my education, I have an MBA with a specialty in finance and accounting, and I have my undergraduate degrees in psychology. I will leave it to members of the committee to decide which of those areas is most useful in dealing with what goes on in the State House. Other than that, please feel free to talk to me about any questions you have about fiscal notes or special appropriations table, or especially bonding with my experience over in the treasurer's office. I issued those bonds for many years and tracked them. And so I have a really good knowledge of the history of Maine bonding going way back. I'd be happy to share that. And so basically that's it. So thank you. Good luck in your new endeavors.
Luke Lejour.
So good afternoon. My name is Luke Lazor. I work in the Office of Fiscal Program Review, and I handle the Health and Human Services Committee. So Representative Hymanson and I have spent a lot of time together. One of my big jobs with the Health and Human Services Committee is staffing the budget. When we're doing deliberations of the budget, I am the one who's staffing that for the committee and walk them through a very large budget that they have to handle every biennium. Additionally, I also handle the Fund for a Healthy Maine. So you will see me a lot just in that capacity. I do the fiscal reporting for the Fund for a Healthy Maine, very similar to the way that the Highway Fund and the General Fund are handled. I also do all the fiscal notes that handle Fund for a Healthy Maine, and also obviously the budget for the Fund for a Healthy Maine. I have been in OFPR now for 6 years. Which have flown by because it is just so much fun, and I'm not being facetious there. I love it here. Before that, I spent 7 years with the Office of Maine Care Services. So that's where I ended up with the Health and Human Services Committee, because that was my background. So if you have any questions related to anything Health and Human Services, please come see me or see me electronically as we're dealing with this session. Thank you.
Rachel?
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Tremblay. I am one of the long-term analysts in OFPR. Sorry. As of tomorrow, I will celebrate my 21st year in OFPR. It has gone by fast. I have the policy committees. I have 3 that I'm assigned to. One is the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee, which takes up a lot of time with the funding of K-12 education, also higher eds and the cultural agencies. I also have the Labor and Housing Committee, which includes the Maine State Retirement System and the Department of Labor and Workers' Comp. And the Innovation Development, Economic Development, and Business Committee, which is DCD, FAME, Professional Financial Reg, in most of the agencies or boards that are under them. So yeah, I'm responsible for budget and fiscal notes related to those areas. And I'm happy to help wherever I can. Thank you.
Michael?
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Russo. I cover the natural resources agencies. So agriculture, conservation, forestry, inland fisheries and wildlife, marine resources, environment and natural resources. And just for funsies, I also cover energy, utilities, and technology. I got half of the marijuana deal. I split recreational marijuana with Luke, who does medical marijuana. And I split the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee with Suzanne. I do the casinos and gambling and liquor. I've been here for 4 years and it's just flown by.
Suzanne?
Good afternoon, Suzanne Fornick, analyst with OFPR. I've been here, I think, about 13 years. I came from outside of state government previous to that. The committees I staff, I do transportation. I've got transportation, motor vehicle, Secretary of State, public safety. I also run with Transportation Department. I help them with their budgeting for the Highway Fund. So I do that process with them, similar to what you will do with the general fund. I also handle the special highway table at the end of the session, which is bills set aside with highway fund impact. So make sure the budget's balanced. And I also have a small part of state and local for Secretary of State and the Treasurer's Office. Criminal justice, I have public safety and defense, so I have the VAT department. State and local, on veterans and legal affairs, I have Secretary of State. I think that's the only piece of that committee I have. And I also do taxation, so that's another area that I do, fiscal notes, budget issues, things like that with that committee. And I think that covers it.
Okay, thank you all very much. Two members of our staff, Julie Jones, I do not think is on the meeting. She had another engagement at 1 o'clock and was hoping to be back, but Julie staffs the taxation committee. As I said earlier, two of our analysts are the primary staff for two committees, Maureen Appropriations and Julie, the Taxation Committee. And she has been with us for a very long time and is excellent analyst. And maybe if she gets back by the time we're done, she'll pop on to introduce herself, but I'm sure many of you or most of you know her already. And the other analyst that is not on today is Lauren Mateer. She's out on leave and will be back, I think, close to February. She does criminal justice, judiciary, state and local government, and the health coverage, insurance, and financial services committees. In her absence, I will be covering those policy committees and assignments. So if you have any questions on those, come see me or get in touch with me. Thankfully, which even I'm using, we do have a brochure which has all those assignments and all those pictures, my cheat sheet. So that will either be in your packet or we'll get to you as well. And certainly those assignments, as well as all of the information we've been talking about, is available at our website. And Maureen, I'm not doing the website today, am I? I don't think so, but if we can walk you through to where the website is and where all this information, staff, various reports, and additional information are available at some point at future orientation. So again, we're your staff. We are the nonpartisan, part of the nonpartisan, larger nonpartisan staff, and we're here to help you succeed at the tasks that you have in front of you. So please get in touch with us, email, these types of meetings, anything, phone, regular phone, whatever you need to do to get in touch with us and meet with us. Please feel comfortable to do that at any point. So unless you have any questions, I'll throw it back over to Maureen. I don't see any hands up, so. Or to the committee chair, Representative Peirce.
Hi. Thank you so much. I just want to share that this staff is outstanding. I know I speak for members who have been on this committee before, or others who have maybe had the opportunity to work with this group. It's really unbelievable and a huge resource to our committee. I would never have survived the last session working. I worked really closely with Rachel on the education committee bills and also on that budget. And it was just unbelievable. And I know everyone who worked with individual people feel the same way about this. So we're truly, truly lucky. We have an amazing staff to help us out. And I encourage you to really be in touch with them. Don't hesitate. They're always welcoming and always helpful. And I think there's a lot to learn. There's always something to learn. So thank you so much for those introductions. And I love the cheat sheet. I had it up on my bulletin board in the back room all last year. I probably will keep it at home, and one there and one at home this year. So maybe send us two, which might be kind of helpful. But that's a real lifesaver too, because there's a lot of names that we've just been introduced to. So thank you so much. Anybody have any questions or thoughts?
Thank you for that.
You bet. Any, yes. Representative Millet, excuse me.
Thank you, Teresa. Everything's been very helpful. I appreciate the PowerPoint and Maureen's willingness to share it with us. Stress the importance of some of the documents that she mentioned, particularly the compendium. I find that extremely helpful. Great staff. You've referenced a few times those presenting about a packet. And I had also a question about access to the State House and our usual facilities, particularly the back rooms and so on. Many of us, I think, and I'm probably speaking for the older generation, love paper and love to be able to talk to people one-on-one and love to have the opportunity to have all of our material with us, not in the cloud, but in front of us. So I'm wondering if Chris maybe could share any information about what restrictions, if any, we might be facing in terms of coming into the building, accessing staff, using our backroom facilities, having access to all of the paper that will comprise the packet and other material that we'll get once the budget materials start arriving. So that was my main question, Teresa, more the access issue on a physical sense and less so on a remote sense.
Sure. So I might jump in first and then have the staff follow it up with anything that I either got incorrect or additional information. But I think there's nobody on this call, and including staff, I don't think, that doesn't wish we were all back in the building together, right? Like they just wish we were at that point. I think we're not. And so we're looking for a way to be transparent to the greater community, be efficient in how we do our work, and give people safe places to work from. So that's why we did the joint order to give the permission to be doing participating from an electronic device through Zoom. We're doing this right now in order to participate on the committee. So any votes that we take, any conversations that we have, we're obviously live today, we'll be live another time. Our votes will be recorded as if we were in the room. The State House, of course, is the people's house. None of us are restricted from going to the State House at all, or restricted from any part of the State House. I think, though, that leadership and certainly the public health officials would hope that we would use that at our discretion in order to be safe as possible, especially right now as we're trending up in our COVID numbers. So you're certainly welcome to be wherever you want to be in the State House. I think in terms of the committee room, we don't want a whole lot of us showing up there just unexpectedly. And I think we're sort of first out of the gate to have a meeting. And so we're sort of doing this a little trial by error. So I think the leadership and presiding officers are trying to figure out exactly if you are going to show up, maybe you need to let people know you're showing up so we know how many people are in the building and how many people might be participating that way. But I think those are still under conversation right now. I think if it were, my hope as a chair is that people should feel free to come to the State House, but you really need to be isolated. And I think we want to make sure that we don't have too many people in one room at a time. And my preference would be, and I see that my co-chair just came back onto the committee meeting, that we maybe not use the committee room right now as we sort of make our way through this and we understand how that works with as other committees start coming into the building as well. So, but you're certainly, it's our State House, and there's nothing that stops you from coming back in other than the discretion of not coming back in. I do think that OFPR and OPLA and others are trying to decide about the paper around this. And I don't know if the staff has any update on that aspect of it. Obviously, you'll get everything electronically and can print that out, but that is different than getting a packet. So is there anyone who has from the staff that might have an update on that for me? I know they're still working this through as we get toward January.
I was just in a meeting right before this meeting. We are working through that process of how the committee are all going to work and what the clerk does, what the analyst does, how information is shared. And that is, you are a little bit ahead of as far as everybody else meeting. More likely in January than in December. So we're still working through all that those processes of how they're all going to work. So I don't have anything new to share with you on that, but we are working on that, and we'll be ready to go with that in the coming weeks. All of us, meaning OPLA, OFPR, and legislative information technology. So we've been working on that, and we'll be ready to go with that. That being said, we are sending you out this package, printed materials, and certainly as we go forward, if individual members are having trouble printing out materials and stuff, we can mail you things as well. So, which is what we've always done in the past. So we in the past, as we've transitioned over the years from everything print to a mix, we've tried to move because of the cost efficiencies of doing it online to not doing as many printed things, but we still always provide that option. So we'll be able to do that. And then as far as meeting with us in this time, we certainly would prefer you try to do it through these methods, Zooms or Teams. We don't have, we're rotating our people in and out of the office, given our spacing. We don't have everybody in every day. We're keeping coverage, but a number of people are working at home offsite at any given day. So if your desire is to meet somebody face to face, we'll have to work that out as to how we do that. And so if you are here and want to meet with us face to face, we will ask that we select a spot. I mean, our mezzanine and some of our offices are pretty tightly packed. So the way we're working it is to just, pick a larger spot. If no one is in the appropriation committee room, it's a very easy spot to have a sit down conversation with somebody one-on-one. And as long as we, follow the overall COVID-19 policy that the council adopted, that's fine, spacing, masks, etc. So, and hopefully we'll, as the chair said, we'll get through this and back to more normal in the near future.
So I think, it doesn't completely answer your question, I don't think, Representative, but I think stay tuned. I think some of these decisions that need to be made around how we disseminate paper, et cetera, will be enlightened, will be brought forward over the next couple of weeks, and we'll have a really strong understanding of that come January when we're back together. In the meantime, if you do want to come to the State House, I think you need to find somewhere to be kind of by yourself, right? Kind of like we were doing when hybrid, people had to disperse out and be away. I know that I'm sure the House Democratic offices or the House Republican offices or other places are available to people just on an abundance of caution and for public health safety, not only for all of us, but for the people that are in that building that need to work there. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can for that. So, yes, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just one quick question, Teresa, and this has been helpful. How about, since we have really 3 new people in our small back room, can we pick out our spots and begin bringing our material in and occasionally visiting to work from our desks, crowded as they may be, as long as we don't engage in too much of a crowd at a time? And some reference was made, I'm not sure whether you made it or Chris did, about calling ahead. Could you clarify that a little bit? In other words, when is it appropriate for our new people to pick a spot, come in and work from that spot on their own preference, and what kind of prior arrangements need to be made?
So I shared that because I had been hearing that people might want to let people know when people are coming in for meetings in particular. I don't know necessarily that you would need to personally let someone know you were coming if you were just coming to work at your desk. But it's a tricky situation. And I know that Senator Breen's back on the call if she wants to weigh in as well. I think we were, with that permissiveness of being able to be on Zoom, the preference is to be sort of here. I can certainly understand and appreciate the want to get together. I think, you know, if you want to have a caucus meeting, so to speak, I've actually had one with the House Ds on Zoom. But it would be nice, of course, in the future somehow to get together if you can find a space, either at the State House or at someone else's locale that you all can be together and work efficiently. That might be an option as well. I think we're going to have to really have a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of patience, but I don't know why individually, if you wanted to come pick a desk in the back room and put your stuff there, that would be inappropriate, right? I think you could do that. I do think getting a lot of people gathering in that backspace would be not a healthy way to go at this juncture right now. And if it's something that could wait until we hear maybe a little more clarification from the presiding officers on this, it might be worthy of that time. I know that's not a very definitive answer, so I apologize.
I would just say, Representative Millett, the honest answer is we don't know right now. And I think we'll have some more clarity. I know I'm going to be in a meeting early next week with other Senate chairs, you know, experienced Senate chairs, giving some input into this whole, you know, the leadership is in a conversation with OPLA, and leadership has reached out to some experienced Senate chairs to give them input for that conversation with OPLA. So, you know, the bottom line is it's still murky at the moment, but we will get it clarified. Right now, I would say err on the side of caution. And if you want to go in and claim a desk, put some stuff down, you know, but if the minute those are small rooms, I would think the minute anybody else enters, you're not really social distancing anymore. So if you wanted to work that out among your caucus members, so that one of you is there at a time for, you know, the next couple weeks until we clarify it, I think that is probably fine.
Representative Hymanson has had her hand up, so we're going to let her go, and then we'll go back to Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm a paper person too, and I like to spread things out, and I have worked in computer spreadsheets, and it's just very different experience. So I'm just weighing in on the paper thing. And I think toner is and printer ink is the new gasoline for us, right? And I don't really want to be spending a lot of money on printer ink, which is really expensive. So I'd be willing to come up once a week or something like that to pick up a big, you know, box of paper. So I'm just making that suggestion.
Thanks. I think that's a great suggestion that we'll both take back to our leadership and have some further discussions about. So, Representative Martin, or no, first we had Chris, and then we'll go to Representative Martin.
No, I just wanted to add very quickly that some of those offices have not been cleaned out from the previous inhabitants. So I don't know if Marianne and Mandy were going to jump in on that or not, but we do have to clean out. Some of them have still got the stuff left over from the previous occupant.
If Drew Gatine is listening, he should come clean out his office.
No, Representative Gatine's office is all cleaned out and sparkling. He did it. The only one, actually, it's all. Representative Jorgensen just walked in the door and he's doing his now. So there's only one in the Republican office that needs to be cleaned out. And I don't clean them out due to the confidentiality, but we did supply a garbage can and I have boxes back there. So there's only one desk in the Republican office that needs to be cleaned out, but the Democratic office and the chair's office are done.
Thank you.
Representative Martin?
Yeah, in my case, it's a little bit easier probably because obviously I have a house in Augusta, so it's easy enough for me to run over and get what I need and go back there and continue to do work. So probably I've got the simplest way to deal with it. But I agree that if, you know, more than 2 people in the back office, we're getting in trouble. But if one of us sitting at either end, then we might be okay because at least we're at least 6 feet apart. That's not a problem. And wearing a mask, and I think we can probably deal with that.
So I think stay tuned, and we'll certainly take all that back. So appreciate it. Senator Breen, do you want to? Anybody else have any questions or thoughts? I hope your meeting went well. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We had a great PowerPoint by Maureen and excellent introductions. And so,
Okay. So is it just sort of a Q&A right now?
it's just a little Q&A, and I think we're getting ready to wrap it up unless people have other questions or thoughts. And we're going to see each other on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock or 12:30?
Oh, excuse me, 12:30. My bad.
12:30.
12:30. Ouch.
We'll see you then.
Great. Thanks so much.
And we're going to do a chairs and leads tomorrow at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Great.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much for everything today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then you go here.